Hey, it's Hillary, host of HillTalks Momentum in Midlife. I'm a little embarrassed. Episode 100 was supposed to release today, and instead I released episode 101, A Woman's Sole Purpose. Or it's just a little embarrassing because I like to think of myself as organized, and it's a reason to celebrate, right? That 100 episodes. How many podcasts have you listened to that have been started and run by a single person with fascinating interviews? And I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on all that I've learned. And it's not been easy, but it's been worth it. And isn't that exactly what hard work and perseverance does for us? When you think about what's the hardest thing you've ever done, when you get to crossing the finish line, walking across the stage, if it's a graduation, receiving that certification, that diploma, watching your child walk across that stage, receiving their diploma, watching them buy their first car all by themselves. There are so many reasons to celebrate. And I originally wanted to do this all about, can you feel the love? And I love to collect hearts. I love the color red because for me, it's love and passion and sacrifice. But for a lot of people, red is very off-putting. And if you are trying to show and sell a home or have a spa-like feeling, there are never shades of red in that setting. Because for so many people, it can evoke anger, frustration, fire in a negative way. But it depends on your perspective, right? So I wanted to make sure I got this episode out, even if the number's wrong, but to take a moment to feel the love that I have for each of you who listen, the love that I'm working to cultivate in myself, in self-compassion. And it's not easy. I'll tell you, as a people pleaser perfectionist, I struggle incredibly with positive self-talk, self-love, kindness, gentleness, peace, patience, all those kind self-talk words. You know, the mean girl in our head, or if you're a man, the mean boy in your head is telling you all the things that you're doing wrong. Sometimes it's not as clear as that. Sometimes it's just the fear or the resistance or what will people say or what if I mess up? Will I feel guilty, insecure, fear? Will I be traumatized or create trauma for someone else? And will I feel shame? Those are sometimes like the five, we call them the gifts, and they're really not the gifts, but we have to be aware of them because the things that hold us back, and it is a gift when we can recognize and acknowledge what is holding us back, that if you feel guilty about something, one might need to ask, am I responsible for playing a role in what happened? Did I intend the outcome? Because if not, you might feel regret or grief or sadness that that happened. But if you did not intend for that outcome and you did not play a role in that outcome, then that's just responsibility and you can release that guilt. Now, for insecurity, what causes that, right? I mean, we'd have to go deep into research to see what causes that insecurity in us when we're starting something new. And in midlife, we're faced with all kinds of insecurities. Is it starting a new career, a new coaching practice, a new podcast? Is it starting a new relationship someday? Is it starting a new job or career? Holy cow, I can attest to that. I am in the process of upskilling and learning all these new things. Thank you to my dog. Oh yeah, dog bark. I don't know if the microphone picked up on that, but I apologize. And she's sorry. That's what her face is saying. So I want you to know that it's important to celebrate. When faced with fear, it is essential to look it in the eye and name it, claim it, and say, oh, I am afraid of this. When we put a name to it, sometimes then it becomes a little bit more crystallized, a little bit more real and tangible. And then we can say, oh, you know what? That fear is not based on truth, on reality. That fear is based on maybe insecurity or guilt, maybe shame, maybe some trauma, maybe just not having the skills. And in 2023, I made a list of my top fears and I systematically faced each one and conquered each one because I needed to get in touch with who I am, what I stand for, what I'm willing to acknowledge, take responsibility for in myself, my choices, my attitude, and what I need to release that's not my responsibility, not my choices. I don't have control over other people's choices, other people's decisions, other people's words. And then that brings me to the fourth gift, right? We talked about guilt, insecurity, fear. Fourth gift is trauma. And for some of us, it can be capital T trauma. And if you've been in a military situation, in a war zone, in a dangerous area, capital T trauma can be witnessing the loss of either someone you know or just witnessing the traumatic passing of someone. Larger traumas for ourselves or when someone does something to us. It could be a sexual assault or a rape. It could also be smaller, lowercase t trauma that is sustained over a duration period of time. When we don't feel secure in expressing ourselves, when we don't feel heard and seen, that can be traumatic if we don't have the healthy boundaries, if we don't have the words to speak up for ourselves, if we don't have the emotional health to say, this is not okay with me. And so it's important to acknowledge the big T and little t traumas in our life. And sometimes that term trauma is overused or incorrectly used. Just because something triggers us does not mean we need to avoid that trigger. Sometimes we need to go a little deeper and figure out why did what that person said or did activate something in me? They didn't make me feel that way. I felt that way in response to what they did or said or didn't do or didn't say. Because we know that silence can speak volumes. And the final one is shame. And usually that is based on a public or social determination of something that we have done wrong. And too many of us take on shame as if it's our identity, as if we must feel less than. And I was just listening to Jamie Kern Lima when she was releasing her new book, Worthy, that too many of us hold ourselves back because we have this negative mindset, this negative self-talk, this I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And it's just not true. So I want you to be aware of those gifts, but I really want you to know that there are small things worth celebrating. There are big things worth celebrating. And when we look for those little things, we kind of build up whether it's a gratitude muscle, like my friend Larissa, the grateful chick, she does gratitude coaching. And what a mindset shift it does for us. We can be grateful for a pet that we have, even when she barks and we're recording. I still love her, right? But it's important to acknowledge when we've overcome those really difficult, fearful things. It might be rewriting your resume after all these years. It might be walking into a tax attorney or a CPA and asking questions about taxes. It might be walking into an attorney's office to ask some questions. And I've had to do all of those things. It might be traveling somewhere all by yourself and making the itinerary of your dreams and making it happen. opening yourself up to the possibilities of the positive what if. What if this worked out exponentially better than I ever dreamed or imagined possible? What if the dream you have is possible and you're not sure how to get there? Did you know that we have a monthly meeting for our Women's Midlife Network membership, the Community Bloom? And it's the second Monday of the month right now. You can join at any time. I've tried to make it reasonable, and you can see, are we the right fit for you? What do women in midlife need in order to gain momentum, in order to move forward, in order to get unstuck? What do you need in your life? What have you gone through that you can inspire or motivate or encourage other women? I believe in you. And I know how hard it is. I have not believed in myself. I have kept myself small. At 5'2" and 120 something pounds, I'm a pretty small person. Some people say petite. But the trouble is when we think of ourselves as a small person, when we play small, then we're not growing into the gifts we've been given to complete the mission we were sent on earth. For me, it's my faith. I believe I'm on a mission to help women in midlife to move forward, to know that you are not alone. If you're a man in midlife, we'll get there, but I can only do so many things at once. What did you take away from today? Is it celebrating the 100th episode of a podcast? Whoop, whoop. Is it knowing that these things that look like gifts, that look like they're negative, guilt, insecurity, fear, trauma, big T, little t, trauma, and shame, those are the things that hold us back, but they also shed light on how we are to move forward. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a cheerleader. Thank you for leaving a review. If you want to join a membership, look us up. HillaryBaggett.com, womensmidlifenetwork.com. The information will be there. Look forward to you joining us. You wouldn't believe the amazing women I have met in my life. Sometimes they have been a military spouse. Sometimes they have served in the military. Sometimes they are separated or divorced from someone in the military. They have started their own businesses. They've started a writing project. They've been gripped by fear of not completing the writing project. And for me, as I'm sending my rough draft to the editor for my first book, you'll hear more about that in the future. But just know you are not alone. And my friend, you are so worthy, and you're worth it. You're worth the self-love. You are worth so much. Thanks for listening. This is Hillary Baggett, HillTalks, Momentum in Midlife podcast. Music by Belmont Club, March of the Dragonflies. Until next time.